Hey Chuck, how are you doing?
Doing good today. Off to a great start. Liking
Yes,
today. Yep.
nice, nice. I know you're in Minnesota. I'm in Florida. Last time I was there, about I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, you were the supply chain guru. So that's why I've invited you to this interview.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. It's been fun. Yep.
Good. Okay, how about a 30-second introduction of who is Chuck Nemer and all of that?
Boy, in 30 seconds. Excuse me. I was out doing the morning walk here. The I love and training and do training in supply chain and leadership and a little bit of lean and kind of been a fanatic my whole life and love to help people learn supply chain. It's pretty much on the training side, I guess.
Okay, and I believe you went to the University of Minnesota. Is that correct? Correct?
I did. Yep. I 77 to 83, I thought I was going to be an accountant and fell into supply chain before that. And at the time of my graduation, I was thinking about going on for the CPA. And then I saw the study book was about that thick. And I'm looking at my student loans and I'm going, I think I'll stay in supply chain.
Is that right? Okay, so is that where you initially came across supply chain and kind of is that how you got that into your mindset, so to speak?
Um, no, actually, I'm probably like many others. I fell into supply chain by accident. Truth be told, is I graduated, and I don't mind on the age. I mean, I tipped 65, but I graduated high school in 77. Kathy and I had just decided to get married, and so we got married a year later. But I went to work during the day and school at night at the U of M. But I went to work at an auto parts warehouse picking parts is what I
Oh,
was doing.
okay.
And I don't know, maybe a year in, the owner comes out storming mad, and of course, 18 years old, like many of us, respectful of authority and that stuff. And he goes, Nemer, do you like math? It's like, yes, sir. He goes, good. Monday, you're going to be the buyer. And I'm like, what? And found out I liked it. And here I am, 47 years later. So that was the first exposure.
Was that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, supply chain obviously has changed quite a bit. I didn't really know about it in college or heard about it until afterwards. Now, um, so you kind of stumbled upon it like most people. What
Mhm.
would you say would be like a route for young people that might be interested in today in terms of getting more knowledge and classes and experience? What are some of the things that you could point them into?
Oh, to understand supply chain or check it
Yeah,
out or something like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I tend to think of supply chain. I don't know where I heard it, and I'm not going to claim credit for it. And I wish I could find the citation, but I heard somebody say somewhere along the line about supply chain is all about coordination of resources to get a job done. And so it hit me that, oh my gosh, that applies to everywhere, even though I'm in manufacturing. I mean, healthcare's got to do it, education's got to do it, and everything. And so I think what I would tell folks to do is check out how work gets done, go visit places and see how they do things. And I think that will help you, whether you go to a hospital, whether you go to a financial planner, legal service, whatever, go visit those places of interest and then start tuning into how work gets done. Because work, I tell learners all the time, work doesn't get done automatically. Someone's got to coordinate all that stuff. And you, if you can put together that passion of a topic with leading that organization, I think it's a natural. So I think I'd tell them to get out and check out areas of interest and focus in on how work gets done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Now, I remember last time we touched base in the Twin Cities, I think it was called Apex at that time, but there was a change in name, branding.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. It used to be APICS, APICS, American Production Inventory Control Society, going way back. They rebranded as ASCM, Association of Supply Chain Management, and I think where that came from, and this is like secondhand, but my understanding is, as you move through the world of nonprofits, it's not so easy, not organizationally, but legalistically to change the focus, and so whatever that bureaucracy is behind it. So they created an umbrella organization, ASCM, that allows them to have education under one pillar, nonprofits under another, research under another. So it's still a lot of the same under the umbrella, but it opens the door up to getting involved in more areas of supply chain.
Okay. And can you maybe explain a little bit about Apex slash ASCM in terms of like what it's about, what does it offer, things like that?
Yeah, I think, when I think about what it's about, education and training certainly, and all the different certifications, everything from the CPIM through the other three certifications to certificate programs and foundation programs, a lot of training. It's also about meeting other people in your profession. I think it was another part of it. I look back and think, oh my gosh, how many professional friends I've met over the years. It's a chance, and I know this sounds like stereotype, but it honestly is true. And I think there's opportunities today. So that's kind of the offer side. It's really a chance to network and meet other people and learn what other people do and share ideas with other people. Um, I think personally people want to make a difference and do cool things in your life. And so I think in the supply chain field, this gives tons of opportunities, from mentoring to learning to teaching to volunteering. And honest to goodness, Vin, one of the things I see, if I have to put out there, what does it offer? And certainly research and learning and other things. Um, with all the technologies we have today, with all the ways people can learn and that, um, there's a dearth. I hope I got the word right. Dearth. There's a dearth, or there's a missing amount of new leadership coming up because people are going in so many different directions to get their knowledge. Excuse me. I think there's a real opportunity when you talk about what does it offer. It really gives you a chance to offer your leadership skills. Everywhere from technical knowledge to helping others to societal whatever. And my path ended up being in the teaching and then a little bit of chapter leadership and involvement. But people are looking to learn or hone their leadership skills or coordination skills or whatever. I think there's a huge opportunity within ASCM to build out that legacy. So I think it almost becomes a one-stop place for everything supply chain related and career related, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, when I was there, if you recall, there was
Mm-hmm.
PDMs, that professional development meetings once a month. So
Mm-hmm.
we would have a dinner, and then they'd have an invited speaker that would talk about one aspect of supply chain, and I think that was very, very crucial because we rotated through different manufacturing sites and companies. So it was really neat to see different various companies that utilize supply chain terminology and skill sets. So
Yeah,
that was great.
you had the professional dinner meetings. You also had tours on top of that was going on. There was usually an annual or semi-annual seminar that the Twin Cities chapter held. They still do that. Um, on a national level, you have the national conferences, and I hadn't been back for a number of years because of COVID and everything else. That's a great way to really get up to speed on all the new topics. I was in Austin this year, and topics for sure were technology, AI, sustainability, circularity, and really well attended because that's cutting edge contemporary issues. Folks are facing that stuff. So, yeah, and it gives you the chance also to take on new initiatives at the same time if you want to. So,
Sure. Now, one of the big attractions back then for me was the certification.
yeah,
And as you know, as an instructor, the CPIM and the CSCP were kind of the big ones. And then I think they added the L, something with logistics, LTD or something?
yep, CLTD for
CLTD.
logistics, transportation, distribution, and then we just came out earlier this year, late last year. We got our results this year. As they started up, it's CTSC, Certified in Transforming Supply Chain,
Oh,
and That is a really cool one. I mean, I like them all, but that one to me is really a cool one.
And I believe I recall you were involved, like creating the curriculum or the testing types of
Yeah,
supply chain.
I've done I've done a couple of things from a volunteer standpoint. I was fortunate to get asked to be on the group that updates the participant guides. So if there's any folks that are going through CPIM right now and you're getting cranky at the material, I'm possibly a person you're getting cranky at, and that's all right. Um, but I've been in a couple exam question writing sessions that they've hosted and that kind of thing also. And then certainly at the chapter level, being on the education committee, being an instructor myself and that stuff. So yeah, the certification, I mean, I love to learn. I probably got 7 or 8 books going at one time, sitting on the nightstand reading and that stuff.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, for those people that don't know too much about supply chain, there are different various positions, right? That supply chain covers. It could be procurement.
Hmm.
It could be like being an analyst, that type of stuff. Maybe you could touch upon some of the positions that you've had in the past that you want to maybe speak of upon that.
Yeah, my path or my journey started out uh, in distribution, picking parts. So it was frontline worker and filling orders, and that was good because it helped me appreciate and connect with customers and learn about who my customers were. Then I went into purchasing auto parts, which is also kind of ironic because I love supply chain and manufacturing, but you don't want Chuck in front of a machine.
Is that
Um,
right?
I I was changing the oil on my Mustang at the time, and I screwed it up twice in a row. And
Oh,
I realized, you know what? Chuck doesn't have any mechanical skills, but I love supply chain.
uh,
And auto parts would have been the least of it. But I knew my way around the catalog and how to help customers. But it ended up being purchasing for, in auto parts. Went in the Twin Cities at the time, it was Big Wheel Rossi. It was an auto parts chain. And so I was the special order buyer. So that was always cool to watch people who were remodeling their cars to help them out. Then I thought, well, I'm getting tired of the retail side. I'm going to try the industrial side. Maybe it's a little calmer. And that was wrong on that one, but ended up going to a company that made vending machines. And so I did scheduling and purchasing and expediting there in steels and plastics. And then, so I got into the scheduling side of things. Also did a little transportation back in the auto parts place. Moved on to, I'm trying to think as we go through the career, materials manager ended up going into from a materials management standpoint, kind of running purchasing and scheduling and everything. Went to work for a company. I'm not quite sure how it happened, but I ended up being director of IT for a computer company. And I mean, I love computers, but I know nothing about updating systems or anything else. And that lasted a couple of years. And then ended up the materials manager again, is where it was. And I've kind of had an overlapping career in the whole thing. But, when to your original question, Vin, on what are careers? Certainly, it can be warehousing, it can be transportation, any of the thing, and looking in warehousing can be certainly running a warehouse. It can be working in the warehouse, depending what your interests are. It could be facilities management, as an example. In transportation, it can be, again, it can be owning your own truck firm, third party logistics, whatever. In a factory, buyers, planners, schedulers, production managers, supervisors, leaders. Today, certainly, you mentioned the data analytics, where there's no question we're going digital because companies want to try and synchronize their supply chains better. So we're going to need to figure out the whole data aspect and how do we get people to have access to all that information. Um, Certainly, it gets up into leading companies, directors, managers, VPs of supply chains. It can be all of that. I'm just trying to think, as I'm visualizing the whole supply chain. Could be financial part of it also, financial analysts.
yep.
Literally, I think any part of the conversation. And I'm just in the manufacturing side. I think you could take all of those and apply them over to their comparable fields in healthcare, education, whatever at the same time. If if I had to, I'm going to sneak one more thing in here if I could. The you talk about careers and that stuff. I think today certainly data analytics and trying to mine new information that we can use for competitive advantage. A lot is going on in distribution certainly. So I think often, and it's kind of a shame, but folks look at transportation, logistics, and such and go, oh, I don't want to do that. That's, I don't want to go drive a truck for a living. And yet, distribution is how we get stuff out to customers, is how I get my medicine delivered and running that whole aspect of it. And I know I showed you this little monster here the other day. There's that whole aspect of the import, export, global part of it. And, that's pretty important stuff that I think many of us take for granted in that. So there's the global aspect of it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what fascinated me about when I came across supply chain during that time in the Twin Cities. It covers so much, and
Hmm.
I was just so just mesmerized by like the transportation aspect, the scheduling you mentioned, the materials, and all of that, and the just in time and then getting rid of waste. All of that really resonated with me, and I was so excited to learn that and take that up. So I really appreciate that
Yeah.
time.
No, you bet.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned you were in the education aspect. I recall that you could have been an instructor during that time to teach some of those courses. Now, do you want to talk a little bit about your instructor experience and what that involved?
Yeah. No, be happy to. I got, just for context, I got exposed to Apex back in '85. Saw a little flyer sitting on the corner of my boss's desk. Asked him about it. He was a member of the local chapter, and Pat gave me the sheet, and I saw it, and that's where I saw the certifications. And so I went through the classes because, like many of us, wanted to advance and needed the skills that go with it. I mean, I I had that baseline bachelor's degree, but it wanted to continue my education, that kind of stuff. It was probably '88 when I finally got my certification. Kathy was going back to school, I think. We had children, and I was looking for, I think, a second part-time job so Kathy could focus on school. Twin Cities chapter had an ad in our monthly newsletter saying looking for instructors, and I thought, okay. Called them up on a Friday, and they said, "Good, you're starting to teach Monday." It was like, what? I don't have material or nothing. And this is back at a time when, they, with the chapter had created its own material because we hadn't come out with participant guides. And so that's where I started the instruction. And I'm 3 hours ahead of the students at that point. And I remember it visibly, first class, first session. Um, One of the gentlemen in class got so frustrated, he stood up and we'll keep it clean and legal, I promise. But he made a comment about, Chuck, I don't think I know what the heck is going on here because I don't think you know what the heck you're doing.
Oh no.
And so it's like, okay, let's take a break, and we chatted about it, figured it out, and everything else. And then so yeah, that was kind of my start, a little bit of a rocky start. But yeah, I started training or teaching on behalf of the chapter in '88. I still do today, and this was while I was still working. Today, it's more of a substitute role because we have to get so many hours in each year, and I get work through ASCM corporate and other clients that I told the chapter, hey, I'll just stay a substitute so others can get their hours in, but still do stuff for chapters. I get calls from other chapters to train also and help out and do that. 2001 maybe got a chance to teach for Metropolitan State University in the Twin Cities here as an adjunct. So started doing that, teaching introduction to supply chain management. That lasted about 20 years that we did that. So that was always kind of fun. And the last 5 was online. Last 9 was online. So that was a good introduction. And then I also, now at least, I do some spot visits to universities and colleagues I stay in touch with, but now I'm in my second year actually of teaching a supply chain course at University of Arkansas online.
Wow, is that
And
right?
so, yeah, it's a master's level course. It's from a professor that I worked with before that asked me to do it. And so we actually use a simulation called the Cool Connection, which is supply chain finance. And it's a planning course like coming out of the SCORE model, but I'm using the simulation to say, rather than just plan inventory, going to have you plan the whole supply chain, but from from financial perspective. So, if you drop inventory from 6 weeks to 3 weeks, as an example, can you calculate with precision what the impact is going to be on balance sheet, income statement, cash flow, and things like that? So we're kind of doing a twist on planning. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, again, like talk about falling into it, been doing that since 2000 with universities at the same time too, and that's always fun too.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's great.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
pretty
you
cool.
you've had your hands in pretty much everywhere then, in terms of
Yeah,
business, academia, volunteering, and chapters and all that.
and in the middle of it too, I snuck in a master's degree in leadership.
Oh, I think I recall you were pursuing that at the time, or you were
Yeah, that
mentioning it or
was
something.
yeah. I got a master's in leadership from Augsburg in the Twin Cities. 2001 is when I got it. It was a liberal arts approach to leadership. We had to write a traditional thesis, so it was 2 years of classes, and then you got 3 years of to get your thesis done. And I was the classic procrastinator. It took me till the last 6 months until the professor got after me. And this is why I love teaching and helping folks, because I understand what students are going through with multiple lives. My professor called me, or my advisor, and I picked her specifically because of the topic, but I knew she'd be hard on me. And she calls me up one day about 6 to 8 months before my 3 years are up, and it's, Chuck, I've never lost a student on a thesis in 25 years, and you're not going to be the first. You will show up at my office every Wednesday and write until you get the darn thing done.
Uh-huh.
And God bless Diane, because if she wouldn't have done that, I don't know if I'd have gotten done.
Wow.
But yeah, and it's nice. You talk about the instruction part. It's nice to have that blend of leadership, accounting, finance, and supply chain, because those conversations always weave back and forth in the conversation.
Yes, yes,
So
they're all related. Right,
yeah,
that's very
yep,
true. All
definitely.
right. So I know we talked a little bit about ASCM chapter and how it's such a resource in terms of education,
Hmm.
certification, and all of that. And then I was excited to learn about some of the opportunities that you offer in terms of the YouTube, your YouTube channel, and all that. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The the YouTube channel came about from a couple of things. One of them has been always learning, trying to figure out additional resources to help the learners in class and that kind of stuff. And so I've created audio content for people because they've said, I can't read the participant guide while I'm on the bus or the train going to work. I thought, well, okay, let's put some audios together. And, if you don't mind listening to my voice, we can do stuff that way. So it started out of wanting to help, other learners. The entrepreneurial side also came out, also, to be quite honest, and then hopefully I'm doing it in an ethical and thoughtful and appreciative way. That how do I build a competitive advantage compared to other instructors, or that stuff, by having additional content. And also, what's really accelerated the last couple of years is, while I still do a lot of teaching, and like I mentioned, I'm 65, I still plan to teach for hopefully another 10 years. I don't know that I'll be that instructor that dies in the classroom. I don't mean to be morbid, but I plan to keep doing it as long as I can. But I'm also thinking, you can't teach forever, but it would sure be fun to keep my fingers in. And so, could I develop recurring income and residual income at the same time when I retire? So the videos that are out there now, they're certainly free out in the YouTube channel. I've got I tie my videos in with the exam content manual, which is the basis for all of our learning. And so I think there's like 204 videos. I start at the beginning of the ECM, go all the way through it. Those are, for supplements for whatever anybody wants, whether you take classes through the chapter or self study. They're out there for you to use. I've got that master list out there so people can follow along. And if you're okay with, the advertisements, of course, bump into the middle of every video in YouTube. They're out there to use whatever you want. So it's really out there to help supplement people learning. The I've got the CPIM done. The CTSC is completed. I did a playlist on all the math and supply chain that they're going to bump into. And then I'm going to move on to CSCP and then probably CLTD also. So I have the full suite out there. Been working on audio files. Unfortunately, you can't really put audio only out on YouTube. You have to have something else with it. So trying to find the home for that. I'm also, again, the entrepreneurial side. So much of what we teach in supply chain also partners up with what's in classroom at tech colleges or universities. Curious to see if this is a bridge to help professors in the classroom as supplemental content, because they're always catching students that are saying, oh, I'd love to get my CPIM certification. And professors are asking about, well, how do I combine what I'm teaching and what I want to accomplish with that? So these could be videos, but I'm also upgrading the videos that are out there as well into something a little bit more formal with using AI and cloning my voice. And instead of looking at this face for 2.5 minutes, kind of have moving videos going so people can kind of, appropriate videos that go with it and create a little more upscale type videos also that can be branded for a university. Or what's cool also, the tool I'm using can translate into I think 81 different languages as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool, the to be able to do that. So trying to build content out there again, altruistically and genuinely. I think there's a whole audience that wants to learn, but not just ASCM, but universities and everything. Cost of education is experience, is expensive.
Hmm.
Are there alternative forms and paths that can get them to the same success?
Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. Your career is just how you started, and
Yeah.
then how you were got involved, and your lateral changes and different career jumps, and then into teaching, and then continuing. So you're like a role model for this lifelong supply chain. It's like it's
should I
amazing.
should I confess now too? It very little of it was planned, if any. I think it's life's events. Kind of, when I started teaching part time, it came out of necessity, and so you kind of plunge into it and see what happens. And then 2001, when the dot-com bust hit, we all lost our job, and it's like, ooh, just built a house. Oldest is going to college. I got to figure something else out. And so, I went full time on the training. So I don't know. It was very planful, truth be told. It was a series of, I got dumped into different situations. And I think also, I'm probably one of those, like many other people, you feel that sense of responsibility as an adult, obligation to children and everything else. It always felt like there's this finger poking me between the shoulder blades, that combined with an element of fear, perhaps, of oh my gosh, I got to figure out something, and away we go. And so it's not very glamorous, but I think I'll say it affectionately, and I know this is your left side as we're facing the camera, but if you look from introvert to extrovert,
Hmm.
Chuck's about right out here. I don't know
Hmm.
that I would have done anything that I've done unless life would have thrust me into it.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, it's fun to share that story, but I think I also share with folks, and I'd say it here too, is yeah, sometimes we got to get shoved into things too.
Yeah. Because when I think of you, when I first met you, and kind of volunteered on the board with you and had some meetings with you, the first impression I got you. You were always curious and you were always excited. You know, you
Mhm.
were some guy that had a good attitude that came up and just had ideas and wanted to explore things. So I always remembered that about you.
Yeah, that it's interesting you say that, and I'm thinking about it. I think where it came from actually was the master's degree, the leadership stuff. I thought honestly I was going to go get the I didn't want to do the MBA because I had a master's or I had a bachelor's in accounting already, and I wasn't interested in finance and taxation and all that stuff. So I ended up looking at the softer side skills. I'd been exposed to Seven Habits from Stephen Covey and that, so I was more interested in the I don't know if you'd call it the soft side or the organic side of leadership in that. But a couple things happened in at Augsburg. I was expecting to get a punch list of everything. I'll do this, like a construction punch list, and you'll be a great leader. And I got done, and I thought, where's the punch list?
Mm.
But I think what it taught me was they had us doing a bunch of reading, thinking, writing, critical thought, etc. And there was from the go part of it. I think it came out of a book called it was why am I blanking on the name? It was a critical thinking book, and I can't remember the gentleman's name. Science of Why am I brain dead? I always think about this one, but it was the gentleman who came up with the concept of paradigms, and
Okay.
he talked about you don't know what you don't know, and so I always wanted to learn. It was also the idea of, I think it actually came out of Viktor Frankl's book, Man in Search of Meaning. He talked about what life was like in the concentration camps, and he was always amazed about such hard lives and difficult choices people had to make, but they never gave up their faith. And he talked about ultimately you own how you want to respond, and for whatever reason that really resonated with me, that I own it. And
Okay.
so I think that was another part. And there's also a competitive part of me because I grew up with sports. I mean, I'm 5'6". Okay, I
Hmm.
had grand visions of being 6'3" and going into the NBA. Okay, so mom's 4'10", dad's 5'7". So little did I know, but I was always driven and curious too, because and I still bump into it today, and it's in the proper perspective. But people were always like, well, you can't do that, or you're too slow, or this or that or that. And that always got me fired up to say, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. So I think there's a little bit of that inner fire to learn at the same time. Again, not very glamorous or altruistic, but
Uh-huh.
probably normal like many people, I suppose.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. Fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. So before we end, how about one or two things that most people don't know about you that makes you unique or interesting, or maybe you've accomplished something that no one really knows about?
Oh my gosh. My gosh, my gosh, my gosh. Yeah.
Maybe hobbies or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
or
yeah. No, no, no.
accomplishments.
I think hobby wise, yeah, I love to read certainly. Actually, I would just love to learn art. I think it's
Art.
on art and music is on my bucket list.
Wow.
I did stained glass for about 25 years, and then
Oh.
I don't do that anymore. But I'm trying to find a place actually to where somebody can teach me to draw, because I want to learn perspective and all that. I think that's getting ready for into retirement. I'd love to be able to learn more in art and music, doing it, learn an instrument. Never had that chance. But something about me also. Oh my goodness. Um, so yeah, it's been the art side. What else? Um,
You're from the Twin Cities, right? Or like outside of
yeah, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that was the other thing. Yeah. I'm from the Twin Cities. That's what it was. Boy, am I glad you said that, Vin, because that was brain dead in the other one. The other one actually is I'd love to. I thought I'd end up in a different career. I actually love languages,
Oh,
and so
who would
I'd
have
love
known?
to learn languages again.
All
But
right.
yeah, Spanish was we I grew up in the Twin Cities. Most of my life's been here, and so we started here. Dad worked for Ecolab, went down to Puerto Rico, and we were down there for 3 years. So we had to learn Spanish,
Oh,
and was fluent, and came back up and kept it up. But Yeah, I think it would have been cool to have a career as a translator or something like that. Would be the other thing. Um,
I think you need more lives,
yeah,
Charles, to accomplish all this.
working hard to make it till at least. I think we got some good genes in the family. Pretty much everybody makes it to 90, so I hope I get that. But
Wow.
yeah, I just love to listen and learn. Um, is a whole part of it. And we got back from Puerto Rico. Yeah, I was. We were in North St. Paul and Woodbury, and met Kathy. She moved up here. We decided to come up here. So yeah, it's been pretty much my whole life up here.
Hmm.
But no, I think I'm a what you see is what you get person, and yeah, I don't know what else. I don't think much about what I do in that stuff. It's just I wanna walk off this earth and be able to look back and say I did my best.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it looks like you have. Pretty impressive.
Well,
Pretty
hoping on
impressive.
it, working on it. Yep. Still trying to. I got enough on my plate to be a good human being, I guess.
All right. Well, I want to thank Chuck for spending some time with us and sharing
Hmm.
all your supply chain knowledge. And I will share your links and resources for those that can
Cool.
follow you or all of that. So
Yeah.
thank you so
No,
much.
this
Appreciate
was
it,
fun to
Chuck.
catch up. No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Vin.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.